Joining me right now here in the Rayburn Room in the Capitol in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the Speaker of the House, Congressman Kevin McCarthy. Speaker, just heard Adam Schiff call you weak as the Speaker. Your response?
It's so ironic. Here's a man who lied to the American public. I think we're showing the American public how we follow the Constitution. An impeachment inquiry is simply the ability that gives the Congress the strength to get the answers to the questions. Think about it. All this information we have now found, we never would have known had not the Republicans taken the majority. We now know the president lied to the American public, that yes, he did get involved with his son's business, that they did set up shell companies, that the FBI has an allegation from a whistleblower that the Bidens were bribed. We now have IRS agents that come forward and said the Biden administration, the DOJ, has treated his family different than others, let a statute of limitations run out. And then the whole question lies, did he get involved with Burisma and get a prosecutor fired in Ukraine under his work because of what his son was doing?
Yeah.
These are all allegations that we need answers to. And now we found out just recently that he used different names in emails, so you couldn't FOIA the email and get it, but now we have to have the ability to get that. So I think you see the American public, we're simply following the facts wherever it takes us. But unfortunately, it looks like a culture of corruption with this family.
Yeah. Will you subpoena Hunter Biden? I mean, Don Jr. spent 20 hours. They didn't have any evidence, and yet they brought him in. They questioned him. How come you haven't brought in Hunter Biden?
Well, the first thing is I don't subpoena anybody. I let
Jim Jordan.
I let committees do their work. But think about this, Maria. You wouldn't know any of this if we weren't in charge.
Oh, I understand. I understand that.
The one thing American public has to understand is there's a strategy behind everything. We only follow facts. Hunter Biden will get subpoenaed, but when's the appropriate time? Do you do it because television wants it, or do you do it around the facts and the timing? When Comer, I think we should have the bank statements to actually know where did the money go, so you would know the questions to ask Hunter Biden. To subpoena Hunter Biden because you want to fundraise or you want to do something, that's not how we're going to run an investigation.
Don't you have emails that say Hunter Biden was complaining that he was paying all the family bills?
That came from the laptop, but we also have 5,400 emails that Joe Biden used as vice president a false name that we have not been able to get yet. Wouldn't it be smarter in an investigation that you were able to get all of those emails? Because with that show, we saw one where it was sent to Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, about a phone call with the president of Ukraine. Wouldn't you want to know all that information so you can ask all the right questions? So I think let them do their job. They're doing a very good job at it, and let them follow it and take it at the right time.
Are there plans to subpoena any other family members? Because according to the Republicans, family members accepted money from all of these.
Well, it looks to me like 9 Biden family members got money. I want to see bank statements. I think they'd have to come before us to answer the questions. Remember what impeachment inquiry is. It empowers Congress in a legal ability to get the information we need. That's going to be bank statements, that's going to be credit card statements, that's going to be family members coming in and answering the questions so the American public can know.
I know that ideas do not go from the Republican Party to Fox News. They go from Fox News to the Republican Party. Media Matters dropped an article alleging that this so-called Biden indictment, impeachment, no different. Explain to us what happened.
And yes, I mean, it goes all the way back to Trump's first impeachment, actually. I mean, one of the pieces of disinformation and misinformation that was circulating through the right-wing media back then was that when Joe Biden was vice president, he used his position to get a Ukrainian general prosecutor fired so that he could in some way protect Hunter Biden's business deals, which they allege he's in on. And that was something that Trump was acting on. Trump, of course, a consumer of right-wing media, took that and then actually leveraged that against the Ukrainian government when he tried to get them to launch a probe into Joe Biden as Joe Biden began to become his opponent, which led to Donald Trump's impeachment. So this is literally the same core piece of misinformation. Jim Jordan on Fox News reflected that back out, explaining that their single best piece of evidence for the impeachment inquiry is this idea that Joe Biden used his position of power to somehow get the prosecutor fired to protect Hunter Biden. Fox News alone did more than 3,618 segments about Hunter Biden since Joe Biden's inauguration. And they just sort of perpetuated this myth that there's something corrupt there and that there's going to need to be a cause for action or impeachment. And
after Dominion, after the controversies that Fox has been through, I wonder what you make of their lingering influence on not only Republican politicians, but on Republican policies, agendas.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a weird position. They're sort of strapped between a rock and a hard place. They've lost about 30% of their audience. You sort of have these fringes, even further than Fox, that are out there able to leapfrog Fox News and directly inject something into the Republican zeitgeist that then Fox sort of has to chase after. So that's the first thing. They're not the lone player. They don't get to be the sole decision maker anymore. At the end of the day, it's still basically the same Fox News. I mean, they were calling for Joe Biden's impeachment. Literally, they used the word preemptive impeachment before Joe Biden was even elected president, when he was still running against Donald Trump. Fox News hosts back then were saying the Republicans should launch a preemptive impeachment effort against Joe Biden in case he wins. And so all we're really seeing is the fruition of something that has always been sort of core to Fox. And since Dominion, yeah, they've had to navigate some of the political fallback, but
what they're trying to do is create this sense among their viewers that the impeachments we're talking about are apples to apples, when they're not even apples to oranges or apples to kittens. It's apples compared to an apple that does not actually exist in the real world. How then do you undercut that? How do you get back to the truth?
I mean, part of it is that this is a much deeper question for our society, which is that, in reality, what we're facing in front of us is actually more like trench warfare. We won't solve this conflict in a single cycle or a single month or a single narrative or a single news cycle. We are going to have to weather the storm, and this is going to be on the margins. And right now, they're succeeding because they've created the pressure enough for Republicans to launch this. We have to talk about it now because it's a reality. But in the long term, we have to continue to neutralize Fox News' destructive power, and that's by not letting them cheat the system the way they do. And there has to be consequences. Others have to change the way they interact with Fox News. We can't treat it like it is a legitimate news operation when, in fact, it has fully exposed itself since Dominion as a political operation. And that has to be the fundamental. Nothing can really sustainably change unless we actually, all of us, actually change the way we deal with, talk about, and think about Fox, because they're not a news operation.
Investigators are saying Hunter Biden's legal team is threatening and intimidating these IRS whistleblowers who were so important. Let's talk about it with superstar Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. What is the story? They're intimidating these IRS whistleblowers. These were trusted senior people, for heaven's sakes.
Absolutely, and nonpartisan, by the way. One was from upstate New York, Gary Shapley, the other one, Ziegler, also claiming to be a Democrat. They went through a lawful whistleblower portal that was created by Chairman Jason Smith of the Ways and Means Committee. That's how we got all this bombshell testimony, how we got proof that there was slow walking by now Special Prosecutor A.G. Weiss from Delaware to try to tip off the Biden administration that they needed to cover up the storage area, for example, in Virginia that may have contained information, gave them ways to destroy evidence. And yet they're trying to claim Hunter Biden's attorneys that somehow they violated the disclosure requirements of federal statutes. James Comer and also Chairman Jason Smith for writing a letter and demanding evidence on this to prove that this is something that actually went on. We know it's more bluster, but really unprecedented the way that the bullying tactics coming from the Biden administration and Hunter Biden, they have no shame, they have no ethics, and we need to expose them, which is why I'm so grateful we are going into an impeachment inquiry.
Just one more. It was the whistleblowers who testified about this phone call where Hunter Biden's talking to the Chinese oil investor or whoever he was, and you said, my father's right here next to me. I mean, that was among the most indicting of the indictable evidence, it seems to me.
Well, on our side with some friends from Delaware that Joe Biden was actually with Hunter Biden that day when that phone call was made. So for him to claim he was out of the country or not there, it's damning testimony. Also to go along with what Senator Grassley released. Remember the FBI informant that placed all these things together that were happening. And we have the suspicious activity reports coming out of what Oversight uncovered on all these bank records showing this web of different bank accounts and money going to and from. We have the laptop from Hell, which revealed that Hunter was making all these transactions, and that shows that Joe Biden is actually involved in all this. We're just beginning to uncover what is probably one of the worst scandals in American history, what's going on with our corrupt president using his son, who is obviously disabled with his drug addiction and other issues. It's really unprecedented, and we're going to get down into the nitty-gritty with this election inquiry, or this impeachment inquiry.